it's incredible. Like if I
Right.
could do just a little part of what she's doing, I want to be in.
Welcome to Let's Talk, ladies, conversations across generations. I'm MB Roberts, an author and journalist, and this is a podcast where we talk to women from their 20s to their 90s about a bunch of hot topics. We ask questions, share experiences, and learn from each other. And it's not just about older women giving advice. We want to know what younger women are thinking too. So let's get talking. Jean Fruth is an internationally recognized photographer, filmmaker, and so much more. She's the founder of two nonprofit organizations, Grassroots Baseball and See Her, Be Her, which uses sports to empower youth, underserved communities, and women globally. All right, I'm in. Let's talk about the women in photography thing, specifically women in sports photography. My husband, Ron Madra, was a Sports Illustrated photographer for many years. He actually connected me with Jean. When I met Ronnie back in the late 80s, I would tag along with him to sporting events. I didn't see a lot of women photographers. In fact, there weren't a lot of women in the press corps at all. And I asked him about this. Why are there no women on the sidelines besides, your odd TV correspondent? And not to throw him under the bus, but he really didn't have a good answer. He'd always name one or two female colleagues and hopefully treated them with respect. I think he did. But I'm happy to say this has significantly changed. Did you see the now classic already image from the Winter Olympics of hockey player Jack Hughes with all his teeth missing and holding the American flag? Woman photographer, a great one, Elsa Garrison, shot that image. I saw an Instagram post during the Winter Olympics at an event where most of the photographers were women, like 7 of 8. And one of them was Jean Fruth. We'll hear from her what it was like to cover the Olympics and hockey and her true love, which is baseball. We'll also hear about the impact she's made on women and girls with her projects. Let's talk to Jean. Hi, Jean.
Hello, MB.
I am so glad to be talking to you. This is going to be a great chat. I've been saving up my questions and conversation for you. I'm about to burst.
I'm excited. I'm loving this podcast you're doing. The whole thing so cool. So honored to be here.
Well, and I know we have I'm aspiring to overlap to your work. You're doing some amazing work, which we'll talk about. So I just wanted to jump right in and just ask you, why photography? Have you always been a photographer when you were a little girl, or how did this come about?
It was a hobby and something I always loved, but didn't really have an outlet or an opportunity. And my high school had a darkroom. I thought darkroom work was really fascinating. So I had this thought, like, I'd love to work in a darkroom. And then, fast forward and you need to make money and do other things and get a job. But it was always, how do I get into photography? And then I had an opportunity with two women who they were doing all black and white portraits, all film, of course, because that was the time.
Right, exactly.
So I offered to do their darkroom work, not like I was some expert. I had really very little, but I said, I'd love to do a trade with you. I can do decent darkroom work. And so we kind of started this mentorship where I started printing in their darkroom and going on shoots with them and assisting them. And I joined in, and we eventually even became partners in the studio. And it was really a great beginning for me. It wasn't what I wanted to do in photography, but it was a start to become a professional photographer. So they really gave me my entree into it. But I was fascinated, loved it, and started to work with other photographers. I just reached out to anyone and everybody who I could just try. Took classes. Then I went back to school for it, went to a junior college, and just tried to learn everything I could. And I worked with food photographers, landscape photographers, just trying to find the path. And when sports presented itself as an option, and it was a local newspaper, needed a photographer. I jumped on it, and it was to shoot local youth sports, high school sports, college sports, and then eventually I got to shoot pro sports for them. But it was just so I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I was just so excited by that opportunity. I wasn't even really good at it. I mean, the baseball is what they saw my baseball work and they liked that, and that's why they asked if I would shoot other sports. And then they sent me to a Friday Night Lights football game, and I thought, oh, great, I know football. Here I go. And I had all the wrong gear. It was really dark. What I thought I knew about football, maybe from watching it, didn't really translate to photographing it as well as I
Oh,
thought it
right, because
would.
like yeah, you are friends with my husband. Yeah, like I've talked about him. When I would tag along with him to a football game, shooting a football game, I could not believe you have to get up and down off your knees, run up and down the sidelines, and he would usually approach it like we're staying in one spot because he's like, you just cannot win that way. That's what he thought. But
Right.
I
Yeah.
did you have
Yeah.
a similar
That night,
experience?
that night I did not win. I went home and went, uh-oh, and wrote to the sports editor and said, hey, so I had a few problems tonight, but nothing that can't be solved. By next week, I'll be in full form. Everything will be fine. Just had a little struggle tonight. And he's like, oh, no problem. Just send me the best of what you have, please. And then I wrote back, email. This is all email. Well, I really don't really have like much, of like, what do you have? Please send what you have. And then the emails were getting short, more curt, no hi, no, it was just very like, it was more like texting, even though there wasn't like that much texting at the time. So it was emailing. And basically I had the quarterback warming up before it got dark, is all I had. And everything else was really pretty
So
awful.
it's a feature on the warm up of the so you just have to turn it into
So then he
something.
said, I will be meeting you at the next football game next week. And I thought, that's right. I'm going to get fired. I have 1 week left of this job that I really want. And then I reached out to a friend who was a sports ball. He did sports and did a lot of other things. And said, hey, I took this job and apparently I'm not good at it and I need to get really good at it in about a week. And then he introduced me to Michael Zagaris, who is the San Francisco 49ers photographer and the A's photographer. And then I learned and I started assisting him, and I basically learned how to do my job of shooting high school football from the 49ers football fields.
From a
I got very
top
lucky.
person,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and a
So
fabulous, interesting person as well.
yeah,
So I have, well, I will take it a little U-turn here because I'm just about to, explode. I loved watching the Olympics this past winter, and I know you were there. So I mean, it was that. Can you tell me, was that your first Olympics,
it
or
was
you've
my
been to several?
first, no, it was
Was
my
your
first
first?
Olympics, and just wow, MB. I mean, I started this project, fast forward, I did learn how to shoot football and shot all different sports. But baseball, I stayed, pretty close to, and then did a project on women and girls in baseball. But that led me to, wow, I really want to stay in this space of telling stories about women and girls in sports. So I moved over to women's hockey. When I say move over, I'm still shooting baseball. And
But made this a focus, yeah,
this,
pardon the
I
pun.
want to stay, there's so much, and it's such a cool time for women's sports. And I just want to be a part of that. And if I could, surround my work with purpose and help in some way to create visibility and do my part, I just want to do that. And so it was just such a great project, the women's baseball project.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second because you did both a documentary and a book. And how did you were shooting baseball, and how did you get connected, with the women's angle?
I was doing a project along Route 66, and it was about youth baseball and growing up playing baseball. And it was part of our nonprofit. And the idea is that kids who play sports have better outcomes, right? Better outcomes with their health, with grades, with in life. Sports do a lot more than just what happens on the field, especially in underprivileged communities. And if you can get involved in a team sport and all the things that team sports teach you in life lessons, there's just so much good. So as we were doing that project, and we just decided to do it along Route 66 because it doesn't get more Americana than
There you
baseball
go.
66. But at the
Baseball
end,
and Route 66. You
yeah,
got the combo.
at the end of the project, I realized I just don't have any girls in this. I have one girl on a little leagues team. It was just kind of unfortunate that these girls weren't represented. I just had very few photos for this book project. That was part of the Route 66 project. And I reached out to this organization called Baseball for All, which is in the Bay Area, and said, "Do you happen to have any all girls? I hear you do all girls baseball. Any all girls baseball games going on along Route 66?" And they had there was a game in Santa Monica, so that's the end of Route 66. So it couldn't have been more perfect. And I went to my first all girls baseball game, and it was such a wow. The girls were just about going to high school, like 13, 14, and they were. I've shot a lot of girls on an all boys team where you go to the game and they say, "Oh, there's a girl. Did you see that there's a girl on the team? Oh, the girl's going to pitch. Don't get pictures of the girl. She's going to pitch next inning."
The girl
And
won. Yeah.
yeah, the girl lots of times is isolated and there's all this pressure, and she's the girl. Now there's this all girls baseball team, girls playing against girls, and they were athletes playing at a high level for their age, and they were just going for it. And there was so much energy, like positive energy, and this great vibe. And they were talking about their lack of opportunities, that now when they go to high school, their high school won't let them play. They can maybe try out depending on what high school they were going to. So their experiences was there's no outlets and there's no place for us to go. They're being pressured to switch to softball, and there's nothing wrong with softball except for if you want to play baseball, you should be able to have that opportunity as well. So I just jumped into it and said, what is this women and girls in baseball? And started doing the research, and then decided this is a project. And then if we really want to create change or help inspire change, it needed to have video as well. Just needed to be far reaching more. The video was going to give it more visibility with the idea of hopefully more opportunities. So we jumped right in. And so I decided for my first documentary, joining into film, I would just do something simple like 7 countries, 3 continents,
Yeah. How about that?
languages. And I got myself into a big mess, MB.
Pardon the interruption. We hope you're loving this episode, but we hope you'll just take a moment to follow, subscribe, and comment on the podcast wherever you're listening. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. All of this really helps us. Thanks. Now back to the episode. Oh my gosh! Because did it start as all U.S. or did you mean to go to
Just kept
Dominican and
growing, and I couldn't stop the train, or maybe I didn't want to, but it was, this is really not about the US. This is really an international story. It's really got to be international, because then I found out women are playing all over. I know there's something called the World Cup for women, and that's coming up. Well, it'd be great. That makes sense to tie this documentary around who's playing in the World Cup. So then we can represent all these different countries and show this is bigger than just the US. But at each decision, the project got bigger, the traveling got more, the budget got bigger. And then you don't want to give up because you're telling the girls and the women not to give up.
oh,
So
they'll be so excited to see it.
yeah,
Exactly. And you've
so
gone this far,
yeah, so it was great and it was hard, but so satisfying. This is the most satisfying thing I've ever done in my career for sure, and the hardest, with a lot of failure and restarts. And so I learned a lot as well. And
Well, you had some pretty amazing backers. Billie Jean King as a executive producer, I believe,
how
executive
about
producer.
her, right? Let's get her on this podcast. I mean,
Oh, please.
I
Could
know she's
Is
like,
she there in the other room? Because I want to talk to her so bad.
she's just amazing. I mean, of course, the most famous woman tennis player in history, but besides that, I mean, beyond that, more than that, is her advocacy for women, her fighting
Oh
for
my gosh.
equality for women's sports. And she's tireless, just
Yeah.
tireless. And she's doing it for all these different sports. And that was one of the reasons why I moved my way into hockey, is that she's part of the PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League. And
Oh
there
my
she was. Now we're going back to the Olympics. She was in Milan doing her thing,
yes.
helping the women, being the advocate. And it's incredible. Like if I
Right.
could do just a little part of what she's doing, I want to be in and be
Yeah, you
part of
can't
that.
say no to Billie Jean. And what an advocate for pay and for and I'm kind of jumping around a bit, but that just brings me to I feel like there's more opportunity in sport for women, certainly. After watching the Olympics and seeing these amazing things, we've still got some little glitches, or respect or pay or opportunities after the Olympics. But I'm just wondering as a photographer, um, and that just might be a function of journalism in general, but is there rising opportunities for women in sports and less opportunities for women in photography?
I mean, I think opportunities in photography have really shifted and it's hard. Sports
Mm,
photography, even harder. Like taking gender out of it,
yeah,
it
the
just,
market. Yeah.
the market is really difficult. Newspapers, what's a newspaper? What's a magazine, right? So and pay, so there's two different like fights going on, right? Or what we need, sure, we just need more opportunities for young people to be able to get into this. The fight for equality and for women, more than ever, women are having these opportunities. It's super exciting to see all the women that were shooting the Olympics. That was just terrific to
I
see.
saw I saw a piece. It's probably on Instagram or something, but that this is when I was so excited because I saw a piece that seven of the eight photographers at an event, and I can't think of which one. You might have been there, but they were women, and it's like this has not been the case for that long.
So cool to see all the wires with women representing different, shooting different sports. And I had met women from all different parts of the country, and they'd come up and just introduce themselves to me, and like we'd, just there was this almost a nod, you wanted to meet the other women that were in the room, and so I got a chance to meet some of them. Of course, some of them that I know have been around for a long time when there was nobody on the sidelines, and you see women like that, and it's like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool as well. So it's and then all the young ones, which is just terrific to see, or because that's where it's got to go.
That's so exciting because I worry about a photographer or a journalist having an opportunity. Someone in their 20s, like they'll ask, how can I do this work? And in fact, I got an email from a young lady, Jody in Waukesha of all things, and she's just out of college and she's wondering how to get started. And here's what she asked. She said, "I love taking pictures and I've been taking photos on my phone for years. I recently bought a camera and I'm learning how to use it. Is this just a fun thing, or is there going to be a way for me to make this my job?"
How about that? I mean, that's the question. There it is. And it's like, how bad do you want it, and what success looks like to you? And
Mm,
if you're looking for the big payday, like probably not going to happen in photography. I mean, you just have to be real about it and do your research and, see what those jobs pay and is that okay with you? And, identify what job it is that you'd like and does that all work for you? You can don't expect, that, oh, that pay is going to double by the time I get there. Probably not. Probably it could even be less because there's
mhm.
more demand for it. And so we've seen salaries go down, wire salaries. So you have to just be real about how bad do you want it, what's your personal situation, and does that work for you? So I think there's all kinds of ways of making it happen. I mean, you're seeing pictures are more important than ever. Images are more important than ever. We're a visual world. There's more pictures being made between cell phones and everything else, yet getting a job in it is very difficult. But there's a path. There's certainly a path, right? There's internships and there's college, universities hiring photographers. There's um, team photographers. There's LCCs, live content creators, and there's a lot of positions out there. A lot of them are entry level. A lot of them maybe aren't paying what you need to make, and so you just need to decide for yourself what that path is and what that looks like for you. And but it's there. I mean, the pictures are needed more than ever. It's can you find that path? And in some ways, it's more exciting than ever. In other ways, it's more difficult than ever.
I really know exactly what you're saying, and my heart goes out to like a young journalist, a writer. It seems really hard for younger girls,
Unbelievable. And you
younger
do, you have to
folks.
have all those skills, really. The people who are coming in to sports teams, you have to know how to edit. You need to know video, you need to know stills, you need to know, and you need to do it all on the fly. I mean, you watch what these live content creators are doing. They're connecting to their phone and sending, or they're sending, in different ways immediately. Everything is instant, instant, instant. We need it as soon as it happens. It's out on social media and 5 seconds later. Like, so all of that, but that's the skill set.
Yep,
Um,
so different, and like you might be right on the cusp, but I can remember when some photographers I knew had to ship film.
right.
After a game, like we had to do the getaway from a football game and beat the crowd, or you'd get stuck and then get to the airport to ship the film. Like, was this something you had to do too, or were you already transmitting on the wire, like when you were doing games?
Oh yeah, so no shipping film for me, but it's great because every time we left a 49ers game, we wanted to go through security in a way we weren't allowed to. Michael Zagaris, who's the 49ers photographer, said he had to get to the airport to ship film. And I would think, I can't believe that works. Like, there's no film. But it would always get us through security. And it was just hilarious that he would say that every single time. But
Right. It's hard to and I think of the danger of that. Like, my husband had a friend who was in charge of taking the Super Bowl film back. I don't know if you ever heard this story, but from it had to be San Francisco years ago, many years ago, and that was his job. And he had it on the plane with him, and he left the film in a phone booth. There's another reference for you in Newark, and got in a cab to go into the Time Life building, and then realized he didn't have
oh,
the
oh my God.
all of the Sports Illustrated Super
Oh,
Bowl film, and went back and got it, and it was there. And like, we just heard this story a few years ago, like
yeah.
we didn't.
I can't even, the anxiety of that because you
I mean,
just
can you imagine like just the
imagine,
risk of that? Like
oh,
that
oh,
that's so crazy. What Well, just like we're talking about the olden days. What When you started out, so you're working and you're assisting, were you the only woman in your group, or did you
uh,
see other women?
there was not many women, so that was West Coast, and there were, there just, there wasn't, there could be, lots of times at a baseball game, I was the only woman,
Mm.
and sideline to many times,
Were
the
people nice to you, or were they
I got lucky, right? Because I mean, there was always there's a story here and there, and I'm sure you have them with what you did, as through time. But overall, I just got very lucky that I had people around me who were willing to help me and mentor me and help me, um, progress in my career. And I had a lot of questions, and they were nice to answer them all the time. And so I had good people around
Mm.
me. It doesn't mean I didn't have experiences at different times, but really lucky that I had, just support. Because otherwise, I think it just could have been a completely different experience. I wouldn't have
Oh,
been
right.
able to progress. So, and then even like as I traveled internationally, you'd see like not a woman, like, a woman sports photographer in, Latin America. And then I remember first, like the first time a woman seeing me in Puerto Rico, another photographer, and she ran over to me and she's like, oh my gosh, and she was telling me her story of being the only woman there in Puerto Rico that was shooting sports. And it was, so, we still connect to this day, because of that, those bonds. But
I
now, it's just terrific to see. Is it perfect? No. Is there more to do? You bet. On the field, off the field, behind the lens, in front of the lens, for sure. But progress is what we're after, not perfection. So let's keep
Oh,
going in that
exactly.
direction. Yeah.
And you have to prove yourself. Gosh, I'm wondering if so there weren't that many women around when you started out. Certainly, when I started out, I did a little bit of sports reporting way back. Did you have some role models, or some of them were guys? I'm sure,
Yeah,
because
definitely for when it was sports, in portraits I had the two women, but when I got into sports, it was all men that were helping me. There were no women that were, role models for me, not there. Now, if I was, on the East Coast, Elsa would have been somebody that I would have, for sure. I mean, she's a longtime Getty photographer and
Mm.
one of the first women for sure on the sidelines on the East Coast, and just the nicest person on the planet. And she's, incredible photographer,
Didn't
and
she make a really great image at the Olympics, if I'm
oh
not mistaken?
yeah. So I shot all women's hockey, but I
Mhm.
did cross paths with her a few times because she did shoot a few women's games. So it was great to see her there and doing her thing. And then she didn't shoot the gold women's game. She wasn't there for that. So then she shot the men's gold game. And I was already on my way home because I did all women's hockey. Um, and she made that incredible picture that just the picture heard around the world, and just of
We're gonna share that because it's really, really
oh
special.
man, like, and you just see that, and for it to be her doing it, you just couldn't be happier, like when you see that and it's like, yes. I mean, because that's the representation we need. Who took the picture
Mhm.
at the Olympics? Elsa, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh, and I love that. I have had a lot of positive experiences with, well, with all kinds of people, but I just was doing a little bit of sports reporting. I mean, a million years ago. So this is in the '90s. We were living in South Florida, and I got a chance to do some things in Miami. And I was so scared because I went down to a Miami Heat game, and I saw no other women, and I didn't understand the whole going into the locker room thing, and I didn't want to. I mean, and I would have some discussions with friends or friendly acquaintances. They're like, "Oh, you just," I go, "You think I want to go into the locker room? That I'm getting my jollies somehow." It's horrifying.
Well,
These
yeah.
really large men and macho and naked, and it's like, no. And but the only reason we had to do that, as is because the players wouldn't come out and talk to the press after the game. They would leave, and so you had to go and get your quotes if you were on a quick deadline. And so I was hanging out in front of the locker room trying to figure out what to do, and a woman from the Miami Herald came up to me, Linda Robertson, and said, "Do you know what to do?" And I said, "I have no clue." And she goes, "Just hang with me." And I
Oh,
was so grateful to this day, like how, not because she could have been like, "Who is that?" Get out of here. But I just sort of helped her to have a buddy, like, but that was so kind, and I
so
just,
kind to be able to, right, just, and what that means, and you remember that for your whole career, and then you just also have to remember, to also then pass on that favor, right? When
mhm.
can you do that? So anytime, right, that I can do something, I mean, for any young photographer, not just for women, but it's especially gratifying when it's a woman that you can try to help, and you move along the next generation, and even if it's a small thing, just like that. And how that, I saw Elsa my second day, and it was so cool to see her, and there's a comfort in that too. It's my first Olympics, and we had a nice little exchange, and it just felt good. There's to have that support. So you always want to give back and pay forward, both of those things. So
That's it. Yeah, it is, as you said, so gratifying. Well, I'm wondering if, regarding either an athlete or a young photographer, I'm sort of fascinated in doing this podcast. We keep finding inspiration from younger women, where I thought it was going to be all of us old broads, telling young girls what we've learned. But I'm wondering if you've been recently inspired by sort of a young aspiring photographer, or certainly the athletes. I'm sure you could just talk all day, the baseball players and the hockey players. And do you find you're learning from younger women?
oh yeah, of course the women athletes are I mean, they're so inspiring to me. The political stuff that happened after the women won gold, and then that was really unfortunate that like something like that happened. But then hearing their responses and how mature they handled it, and being my age, and having a son their age, and it's like you feel like a proud parent. It's like, oh my gosh, what a great solid answer to that, and you feel so good seeing how these women are handling themselves. The incredible pressure. Think about the pressure for that age, and just handling themselves with grace, and just sophistication that I certainly didn't have at that age. So it's just so impressive to me. So the women athletes, and there's just an extra burden that the men don't have. Not a burden, an extra responsibility. Burden is certainly not the word. They, when it was baseball, women's baseball project, and now the women's hockey project, what you see and what I saw at the Olympics is they are competitive animals. There's no doubt, right? Competitive, they do not like losing. Like they're as competitive as the men and more so. So they want to win. No doubt. They want to win for themselves. They want to win for their team. They want to win for their country. But
Mhm.
what you also know and you feel like when I started doing this project and working like different arenas with them is they want women's hockey to win. Like they understand the bigger picture. And the same with the women baseball players. They understand it's bigger than them, that it's going to go beyond them, and they're all pioneers. I mean, this league is just getting started. It's only a few years old. They needed to expand, they needed to grow, and they need pay to go up. They need to get paid there's a long road ahead, and they're a big part of that success for the next generation. They get
Yeah,
it. You can just
literally playing the long game. Yeah, absolutely. Well, when will we see a hockey book, or just are we going to just watch what you're doing as you're doing it? Where?
I'm working on the book. It's going to take some time. I have some other I need to tell all different stories to tell it complete. And it's really just been fun. I don't really don't want it to end. I feel like I'm just getting started. The Olympics was so inspiring to me, just moving along. And to answer your question about the young women photographers, so you start shooting a new sport in an aggressive way. What do? You got to look at everybody else's images, right? We learn from other images. So I start going online and start going on social media, and then who's following who's this person, who's that person, and who's this? Who's making these images? And then I look that person up and wow, they look awfully young. And I can't even tell you who all of them are, but I'm writing on their Instagrams now. I've met them in person, many of them, but there's young women photographers shooting. I'm like, wow, how did she make that? Like I want to make that picture that way. And then they have a different style, right? Because they're from a different, like, do I like that or do I not like that? And then just the way they're shooting it, and sometimes it's different angles, and I'm like, is that okay or not okay? That's interesting to like, and so you're learning, and like, so we learn from those who came before us, but also who are coming after us. So I'm glad to hear that you're being inspired by the younger women too, because we have a lot to learn from them as well. So
I think that's really true, and that's been the unexpected kind of gem of doing this project, because I did not expect that. I thought it was going to, go the other way, but it goes both ways. So, uh, Gina, it's so great talking to
it's
you.
so cool, MB.
I
Yeah,
so
we have a new,
appreciate it.
fan. I'm so in.
Oh my gosh, thank you
Thanks
so
for
much. Well, you're going to get a lot of new fans, and we'll be watching hockey and all your projects. And so, thanks for talking to us.
oh, thank you.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Let's Talk, Ladies, Conversations Across Generations. We'd love to hear from you. If you like this episode, please subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And you can comment on the episode on any of these platforms. We love the feedback, and it also really helps us with sponsors. So leave those comments. We so appreciate it. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can also send us an email at ltlconversations@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail at 629-888-3542. See you next time on LTL.